Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with a Journalist, brought to you by OnePitch. Are you looking for an easier way to pitch the right journalists? Head to our website at onepitch.co to sign up for a free account today. Our guest on today's episode of Coffee with a Journalist is Andrada Fiscutean, a freelance science and technology journalist. She writes for publications including Ars Technica, Vice Motherboard, ZDNet, Nature, CSO Online, and more. During the episode, Andrada talks about what it's like being a journalist based in Romania, covering stories that most staff writers wouldn't consider, why it's important to include your hook within the first 3 sentences of your pitch, and more. Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with a Journalist. I'm Beck Bamberger, and hopefully you're here because you want to talk or listen, at least, to a journalist and learn how to pitch this person, what they like, what they can't stand about publicists, all that stuff. We do this because we want publicists to have great relationships with journalists, and for journalists, in turn, to have lovely and positive relationships with publicists. So we all could use some help on our publicity and also how we pitch to get to journalists. So thanks for being here and listening in with us today. Ooh, we have a quite a distinct, I would say, and different guest than normally here. We have a wonderful science and technology journalist / freelancer. Andrada Fiscutean is here with us today. Tell me first, thank you again for being here.
Happy to be here.
Yes. Tell us also what you are freelancing for, writing for, and contributing to outlet-wise.
So, as you said, I'm a science and tech journalist, and I'm based in Bucharest in Romania. And it is quite late here, so no coffee for me at this hour. I'm looking for stories staff writers are not interested in covering. And the fact that I'm based in Romania, where living costs are lower than in the US, this allows me to write fewer stories compared to a reporter who is based in, say, New York. And this also means that I have more time to put in a story and to go in depth if that's necessary. So I try to capitalize on that as much as I can. And there are a couple of publications that I tend to write for. Most of them, most of them are in the cybersecurity field. I really enjoy writing for CSO Online and for Dark Reading. And I'm also interested in the history of technology. And I did a couple of stories on this topic for Ars Technica.
And how would you describe Ars Technica for anybody else who might not know?
It's, I think, one of the oldest websites on the internet.
Yes.
It's part of Condé Nast. And it's like the sister website of Wired. If I may, I really like the readers of Ars Technica, and I get great comments from them whenever I do a story. And there's a story that I published with them recently about sci-fi literature in North Korea and how it was used for propaganda. And the Kims even had guidelines for sci-fi writers, and they instructed them to write about optimistic futures for their country. Yeah. So I also like stories that are not necessarily on the news, but they are intriguing and fascinating and a little bit unusual.
Okay, unusual. Before we get into that, though, I do want to call out, because this is unusual that I've seen. You were a Knight Science Journalism Fellow of Science Journalism at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, for those who don't know. Earlier, but it looks like before COVID hit. How did you get to be a fellow at such a prestigious place?
So each year they pick 10 journalists from all over the world. So in my year, half of us were from outside the US, whereas 5 of us were based in the US. And the fellowship is fantastic. You get to take a year off from work and you go there. There's a stipend and you take the classes you want to take at MIT. No questions asked.
Wait, so you can go to any classes you want?
Yep.
Oh, wow. And this is not what this podcast is about, telling us about what classes you liked, but what was your favorite class if you had one?
So I did computers and social change. There was also a class on artificial intelligence, cybersecurity with Bruce Nair. I also attended a lot of seminars with book authors and science and tech journalists who were based in the US. Yeah, it was like Disneyland.
Wow. It was like Disneyland. Oh,
Yeah.
I bet for super nerds out there, I think I am one. I could tell you are one. This is great. Oh, wow. Well, thank you for telling us about that. Okay. So Andrada, you are doing freelance writing as we covered. Do you get a lot of pitches from publicists?
Yeah, I get quite a few of those. I'd say about 24 pitches a day. And many of them are interesting. And I really, really hate the fact that I cannot cover a lot of them. But I really like PR professionals who have direct way of looking at the news. And some of the people that I've worked with in the past also know what sort of stories I'm looking for. And these are mostly stories that don't necessarily make it and are not necessarily covered by reporters. So maybe there's a number that's interesting there in the pitch. Maybe there's an angle that hasn't been covered. There's an unexplored angle. And I really like it when they are available on my time zone.
Oh, yes. By the way, what is your preferred time zone?
I think anything that works in Europe works for me. So it is easy for me to adapt. But if I'm doing a very important story, one that I'm like super, super interested in, or if I'm under a tight deadline, then I'll try to adjust.
Okay. For those pitches that you do receive, do you read every single one? Do you trash them? Do you put them in a folder somewhere?
So there's a quick decision that I make when I see an email, and that decision is yes, no, or maybe. If it's a clear no, then I'm going to delete that pitch completely. If it's a clear yes, then I'm just going to reply to that person immediately. So I really want to do that story. But most of them fall into the maybe category, and I do not delete them. I just let them in my inbox.
Let them be there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I try to, whenever I'm doing a story that's on a specific topic, I'm looking if I received pitches that are somewhat connected to what I'm doing, because this helps me reach out to potential sources.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of sources, is that the best type of pitch for you? You want to see cybersecurity, for example, experts, domain experts in government? I mean, I don't know. Is experts who you look for?
Yeah, I'm mostly looking for experts, and I'm specifically interested in experts who are really, really passionate about what they are doing. Because in addition to writing like the more technical aspects of it, I'm also interested in writing a little bit, maybe even if it's just a line or two about the person.
A line or two about the person, like their background, what makes them credible and so forth.
Yeah, what makes them wake up in the morning and be excited about what they are doing.
Yes. By the way, since you're in such a niche vertical, we could say cyber is quite large, though, in some regards. What has you most excited about what's going on in the world of cyber?
Well, Romania, where I'm based, is quite close to Ukraine. So we share a pretty long border with Ukraine, and I've traveled to Ukraine on several occasions before the war started. So I have a few connections there. And to me, it was interesting to look at this part of the war and to see how cybersecurity gets used during unprecedented times.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see how the idea of warfare is going to change and how it is going to incorporate both cybersecurity and artificial intelligence in the future. We don't know what will happen. Yeah. But it is just interesting to watch. So yeah, it is intriguing to me.
Oh, gosh, literally on the border. That's such a place to be and a perspective to have. So thanks for sharing that.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by OnePitch. Are you curious to learn about the unique ways OnePitch helps brands engage with the right journalists? Head to onepitch.co and create your own custom media list in 5 minutes or less. Now back to today's episode.
Can we go back to pitches and particularly subject lines? Is there anything that stands out to you in a subject line of a pitch that you see from a publicist that you go, I want to open that one right away? Because you mentioned you respond quickly when you have something good.
Yeah, maybe a number right in the subject line. Maybe something unusual. For instance, I did a story on using card games to do threat modeling.
Oh, and okay. Was that from a pitch?
It was from a pitch. It was published with Dark Reading. And like card games and threat modeling are not two things that you see together in a subject line. So that worked. I also did a story on a very direct subject line, security risks of laying off employees. So it was a time when a lot of companies were laying off people, and this pitch talked about the security implications and some of the things companies could do so that they don't jeopardize the entire company with layoffs.
And by the way, was the subject line security risks of laid off employees? Was it direct?
It was something like this.
Very good. Okay. Thank you for that insight. Embargoes or exclusives, are either of those of interest to you?
I'd say exclusives, specifically because I'm a freelancer and I need to do something else. I need to cover something else, not something that stuff reporters do. So exclusives, I really like those. I think everyone does. And I don't mind if the story is going to take me 2 or 3 months to research.
Yes. Oh, and 2 or 3. By the way, does that actually happen sometimes? You're in a story that long of just the research?
Yeah, it does. The North Korea piece, for instance, that I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, took more than a year to research because it's difficult to find sources. And you really want to check everything so you don't make a mistake. And there isn't a lot of information on this specific topic of sci-fi literature in North Korea.
Yeah.
And I know that this is not an investigation that is going to change a government.
Yes.
But it was a story that was somewhat interesting to do, and I really enjoyed working on it. Although I do admit that maybe I put too much time on it.
Oh, well, hey, a year is a long piece, but some investigative pieces do take several months to crank out, as we've heard from multiple reporters. What about relationship building with you? Can publicists make a relationship with you? Obviously, I don't think it's going to be too often in person, but what is a great way that they can make a relationship?
I mean, I grew up when the internet was starting to surface, so I strongly believe that we can have a strong relationship, although we are only going to communicate digitally. Video calls might work. And also, I feel that after I'm receiving more than 10 or 15 emails from a person, I feel that I almost know them.
Yes, 10 or 15. Okay, then that's good. That's okay. So what I'm hearing from that is frequency. So if you're consistent and you're frequent, and of course you're teeing you up with good things, then that is a way to make a good relationship. Yes. Okay. I have a quick fire list of questions, Andrada. So let me give you this list and see what your answers are. Sound good?
Yeah, let's start.
Great. Video or phone interview?
Video. Yeah, because I'm not a native English speaker.
Uh-huh.
I can assure you that I'm smarter in writing and I'm smarter in Romanian. No. And some of my sources are not native English speakers. For instance, if I'm doing a story on Ukraine, then communication might be a little bit difficult on the phone. And I feel like sometimes the quality of video is better. And if you also see that person and you see the way their lips are moving, then it's going to be easier to understand. And maybe it's just my perception, but I always feel that I don't want to misunderstand the person and I don't want to misquote them. So
Yes,
This is
well,
why I
full
prefer,
communication. I'm the same. I
Yeah.
would rather see video. Okay, in pitches, bullet points or paragraphs?
bullet points. And I do prefer short pitches.
Yes, that is the next question. Okay, and then how short? I mean, you said bullet points, but like, do you have a shortness rule?
Well, I think that if I'm not hooked after the, say, third or fourth sentence, then I might not read
you're done.
the following ones. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, very good. Then what about images attached or a Dropbox zip file?
I'd say none.
None. Okay. None images. No images. What do you prefer instead if you have an image need?
I seldom have an image need.
Yeah, you're in cybersecurity. What are you going to show?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like
okay.
Hackers in hoodies, maybe.
Yeah, exactly, which is ambiguous and weird. Okay. Email or DM on Twitter/X?
Email. Yeah. My email should be easy to find.
Mm-hmm.
I make sure that it's available.
Very good. One follow-up or multiple?
Just one, if possible.
One, yes.
Yep.
Direct or creative subject lines?
Direct.
Yes, as that beautiful example you gave showcased. Press release or media kit?
Press release.
Press release. Why is that? Just puts it all together?
Yeah, and it's also shorter and it feels like it's less commitment from my part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just easier to scan through.
Yes, true. / you also don't need a bunch of product images and headshots of people and stuff, as you mentioned. So there you go. Is there a time you read pitches?
I read them in the morning, so that would be
nighttime
midnight.
for middle of us, yeah.
In the US
people. Mm-hmm.
And I read them whenever I take a break from what I'm doing. So, and also at the end of the day. So,
end of the day too.
Yeah.
So basically all the time is when we can catch you for stuff. Very good. Okay. And then sources you look for and how do you want them pitched to you? Now you talked about experts. Is there anything further you'd want to explain?
That's an interesting question. I also like to talk to people who are not in cybersecurity for cybersecurity stories whenever that's possible. And that's also difficult to find. So maybe you want to talk to a victim or to like someone who's connected somehow with what is happening. And I wish we had more of those in cybersecurity.
Anything last that you want to add, Andrada?
At this point, I'm thinking about how we can use technology in journalism because there are some fantastic tools that are available and
without mentioning names, but yes.
We don't necessarily know how to use AI in a super effective way in journalism. So if someone happens to have ideas on this topic,
we want to hear them.
Yeah, email me.
Email you. Okay. Andrada, thank you for being here today. It's been lovely. And thank you for being on this thing at midnight, your time. My God.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I loved every minute of it.
Oh, thank you, Andrada. Appreciate you so much. Where's the best place for people to find you, by the way?
I think over email, I try to stay away from social media as much as I can. I know it is impossible for us, but I just...
But you being in cyber, I feel like that's a good answer. Yes. Good. All right. Then find her on email, everybody. You heard it here. Andrada, thank you again. And good night.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Andrada. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's Coffee with the Journalist episode featuring freelance journalist Andrada Fiscutean. For more exclusive insights about the journalists on this podcast, subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter at onepitch.co/podcast. We'll see you next week with even more insights about the journalists you want to learn more about. Until then, start great stories.